sure, but go ahead. Do your
Can't
thing.
hear your music, Steven.
Powered by Riverside.
It'll be right. Welcome. Three guys, many games. Summer edition. We got a great show for you today. Got a remarkable figure in the lacrosse world, a dear friend, our man John Gagliotti. Let's have a little hand for our man.
Yeah,
John
gang.
Gagliotti.
Baby, guys. The king of shoes, baby.
See, I give you a little cheering. They've been giving me the business about these introductions, right? So, Vinny's always the most prepared guy all the time. Smalley's usually the least prepared. So I had to go.
Thank you for the compliments, guys. Here we started it.
So I had to go digging in, but I wanna go through some of the bio, okay, for the people that may not know you. All right. So John had a storied career as a player and a coach, and left an indelible mark in the game of lacrosse. He began his journey as a standout player at Johns Hopkins, even though we're going to go back. We're going to talk about your Manhasset days, but, he really hit the mark at Johns Hopkins as a defenseman with his leadership on the field, his skill, his play. His play clearly earned him All-American honors. He went on, after finishing at Hopkins, went on to play in club lacrosse at the time, but a New York AC, won himself a championship during his club days, and then was in the transition from the club to the professional ranks. When that happened, he joined the Long Island Lizards, won some championships there, along with us, where we became teammates, Vinny and I and John, and we were also teammates in the indoor professional league when he came out of school, playing for the New York Saints. Those were great days there. And then his journey continues through being a successful businessman, was involved in very, very successful brands that have shaped the future of lacrosse. And we're going to want to talk a lot about those things as well, and what things you're up to now. As he, it seems like you're always, one thing about you, Gags, you've always been moving and you've always been shaking in this game of lacrosse. Ever since I knew you from when you were a young guy, you had an eye on a business sense of creating, innovating, and that's listen, you tremendous player as well. You're one of my favorite guys. I don't say that about a lot of guys. Gags has always been one of my favorite guys. Every time I see him, it's a smile on my face, and I love being around them. But I want to start. We're going to go back. We know all the older days. I want to go back to the Manhasset days and maybe even earlier. What was your introduction to the game?
Well, I moved from Brooklyn to Manhasset when I was 10 years old. I knew nothing about lacrosse. The first day we were moving in, I saw these guys walking down the street. Eugene Feeney, Ryan Donovan, all these Irish guys, Pat Gately. They're all playing lacrosse. I'm like, what the hell is that? We came from Brooklyn. Baseball was huge, football. And, so I gave it, they helped, they showed me the game. Back then we were using Super Light 2s, Brian and STX were the two big brands. I saw STX as like the Baltimore brand. And so I was like, we're from Long Island. I'm going to be a Brian guy. And so I started having just catches with the guys at the Village Green and in Manhasset and Plandome. And I started like falling in love, just having catches and like, this is pretty cool. I could be good at this. And, you guys met my father. He loved baseball. He wanted me to stay with baseball. And I was like, I love this game, lacrosse. Like, this is fun. And so I got introduced to it. I started playing at Manhasset PAL. Back then it was, Muncie Park, the field, and no one had really their own equipment. This is like in the mid 80s. And you'd go down there, and Harry Balger and Bill Miller, Blake's father, would have a bucket, like a laundry pail full of equipment. You grab your stuff, you put it on, and then Saturday mornings we rotate positions. Play midi, you play attack, you play defense. You rotate every Saturday. They break us up into teams. I was probably in the middle of the pack, if that, skill wise. But I really fell in love with the sport, and so I started playing a ton. I started going in the green and just shooting. We had a cage there. That's where, I saw the Denahans were always there. Gettleman's, like all the kids that have gone on to play, played top college lacrosse. Blake was there, and so I just fell in love with the sport, just having catches and throwing and shooting on the cage. And then the Manhasset, then the lacrosse state champions would come around. And it was the first time I saw something like that. They'd come to town, and it would be Syracuse versus Hobart. It's always the D1 champions versus the D3 champions. So I'd go to the games. I'm in 4th, 5th grade going, holy crap, those are the Gate brothers I read about in this magazine. And like back then, there was the big magazine. Remember that? That was great. And there's Pat McCabe. There's, these guys I grew up like, there's a guy from Manhasset that's playing on Syracuse, Mike McGee. There's a guy from Hobart playing from Manhasset. I was like, wow, maybe I could play
Tiny Crawford.
Is it
Tiny Crawford?
Yeah, Tiny Crawford.
Tiny Crawford.
Face-off guy. Remember Tiny Crawford?
Exactly.
Big dude. So I was like watching going, wow, I would love to play college lacrosse one day. And that was like my inspiration. And Manhasset, Alan Lowe, Bobby Rule were like legends in our town. They were world team players. And I looked up to them, and they were at the school, and I'd say, I want to play for them one day. I just want to play on varsity in Manhasset and see what happens. So I worked hard and, practiced a ton. Back then we didn't have AAU travel lacrosse. We would play summer league, and we'd play, but it was, and we'd go to camps. We'd go to Richie Moran's camp every year. A bus of Manhasset guys would go to different camps. We'd go to Army. We'd go to Cornell. Cornell is a staple. We'd all love going to Cornell. Bobby Rule would tell us to go to Cornell. We'd go to UMBC. We'd go to every camp. We would just, Rutgers was a big one. And we just hit different camps, like 3 or 4 camps a summer, all of us, like the pack of Manhasset kids. We loved it. And that's where, I started falling in love with the game.
When you were at Manhasset and when you were getting towards the varsity stage, was Alan Lowe still the coach, or is that right around when that transition happened? When
Alan was the coach. Big Al.
Alan was the coach when you were on the varsity.
Yeah, Alan was the coach. And one thing I'd say about Alan, like, he let us play. Like, he didn't rein us in. He would say, shoot, coach, guys, shoot behind the back. He said, if you could shoot behind the back, you can shoot behind the back. If you can't do it. and he let us play. And Bobby Rule, they let us play. They said, they ran an offense that was sort of like, rotating formations, but it was free. And that's why I think a lot of great players are developed in Manhasset. They have a system where they let the players play. Well, Coach Lowe and Coach Rule, can I throw some checks? If you could throw checks, you could throw checks, and you, can I go across the midfield line? Yeah, 100%. Create fast breaks. And they played a style which I think developed a lot of very good players.
Did you start playing defense, or were you, and ultimately you settled in on defense, but when did that happen?
That happened in 8th grade. I played midfield, and I was pretty good. 2nd, 3rd best on my team probably. And I said, I want to dominate a position. I want to be really good at one position. My stick skills are pretty good. They're probably not as good as, I can't play attack. And I said, what if I put a long stick in my hand? And I went to a Cornell lacrosse camp in 8th grade, and I played defense for the first time. And Ricky Soul came up to me. I think he was an assistant back then. And he said, where are you from? I said, Manhasset, in 8th grade. He goes, man, you really can handle that stick, the long stick. I was like, thanks. Because I did all the drills. I was like, maybe this is my position. And then I started saying, okay, I could be the man. I could potentially be the man at Manhasset in defense. We had Buttles, who went to Princeton, who was very good on midfield. We had Gately, went to Delaware, very good on attack. Kasalakis back then went to UMass, goaltending. So I said I could be the man on. I wanted to star in one position. I saw McCabe play, and I was like, he plays a fun style. It's almost like a midi defense where he goes across the field a lot. The crowd goes nuts when he crosses the midfield line. I'm like, that's cool. And I realized bringing the ball across a ton. That after the games, everyone would be like, oh, that was sick when you came down and you hit that guy on the fast break and yada yada. And that was what they were talking about. I was like, all right, I'm gonna start going in transition a lot. And but that came from watching guys like Pat and Petro and guys like that, Bresci, stuff like that.
What year did you graduate high school, Gags?
92.
92. Wow. Holy cow.
And then Harvey Cohn, who we all know very well, was my football coach at PAL. Manhasset, Port Washington played combo football. We would go to Lions Field. Harvey would have the horn. And we played football with the Port kids. So we knew all the Port kids, Timmy Langdon, all these guys, the Stanzialis. And I would play football, and then we'd play lacrosse with them in the summer. And Harvey used to then start inviting me to play on some of these tournaments that were starting to emerge. And that's how I met you guys with Summer League at Hicksville and playing with Harvey's on some of these tournaments, Greenpoint. I want to play against the best players. So I started getting invited. Harvey would bring me, he'd bring the Manhasset kids along with him, which was amazing. I get to play with you guys who are playing at a much higher level. And I get to see, the gap there. And I tried to work on my skills to close that gap. Well, and then eventually we all went to Vail together.
When you came out, I have to say, you really were. You were in how defense was played. You were in like the middle of this transition, because when you go back to Dave and Pat and somebody and Kiss and guys like that, it was absolute ripping time. You guys were running for their lives. You touch a stick, balls were going out. Guys were scooping up balls, going on fast breaks. They were kayaking. They were doing all of these things. But by the time you were coming out, the evolution of the equipment started to get like, okay, the guy just threw the kayak and it didn't come out, and I ran in and scored. But you were still a guy that, to me, when I would watch you, I'm like, this guy's like, he's not throwing crazy checks. He's pretty basic, but he's getting it away from the guy. Like he's still actually getting it away from the guy. And I always credited that to, your athletic ability. Maybe looking at you don't look like much of an athlete. That's like me. I don't look like much of an athlete either. But you were faster than people thought. You could always get ahead of guys, which gave you margin to check and not really lose ground. And it always seemed like you were right on the guy. So it was like, and you could get it away from the guy. But it wasn't with fancier checks. It wasn't going over that. Like they were setting guys up and ripping guys over the head. But you couldn't, it started to get like you couldn't do that anymore. And you were the one guy in that transition that I felt like he's still getting the ball away from guys, and he's doing it with like more basic kind of checks, which made you really dangerous. I felt.
Yeah, I didn't do the crazy pencil checks at goal line or kayaks. I never thought. I mean, by the time I started, the offset became big. The offset head. Yeah, I think that changed. Getting the ball out from the old Sam to an offset was very challenging. The ball was just sitting back there. You'd hit it and the thing wouldn't come out, and you're like, "Oh crap!" That used to come out. The offset changed everything, I think, and the pockets got deeper, and so I only threw like 5 checks. Like it was basically, I watched Pat and Rick Beardsley, and they threw the ding dong, right? They threw that ding dong follow up inside, like these checks that if you miss it, you're still in good position.
Yeah.
And that was key. Like they weren't like all or none. Now there was times you had to go when you're down by 2 goals and you have to go over the head and you have to try new stuff. But I rarely I stuck to like 3 checks when the guy's righty, 3 checks when the guy's lefty.
When on righty, which was me, you would get me sometimes with going a little like back, like you were going to back check, but then come over fast to the front.
Yeah. I learned that hanging the stick above the guys' heads, they don't know if you're coming in the front or back.
Right.
And so I would mostly come in front, knowing it wouldn't put me out of position. And a lot of that was working with Petro when I was at Hopkins, just making sure your body's in the right position when you're throwing checks. Petro would we would just some practices just he'd be like we'd playing Syracuse that week. He'd just say just do whatever you want to do because they're gonna be throwing a lot of checks at us. Get these guys ready. And so you just learn being around guys like that, being around Pat in the summer, being around Beardsley in the summer. We'd go to every tournament. We were all together. We'd go to Glastonbury. We'd go to Greenport. You know, these are the smaller tournaments.
Dog days.
Yeah.
We
would go to Vail and
100-degree Glastonbury, right?
Yeah, it was great. But that's where you tuned up your skills. And that's where you practice stuff. And that's where you can get better. And then you bring it to the bigger stage, whether that's Vail or Lake Placid or Ocean City we used to go to. And then eventually college, you go back in the fall and be like, check it out. You feel like you got more confidence. And we used to go everywhere. We'd play. You guys were playing everywhere. You guys would invite me. Come to this tournament. I never even heard of this tournament. Let's go. You know, we would play Hicksville. We loved it. Right. I mean, when we played Hicksville, how much fun was that?
Yeah.
In the parking lot after, hanging out, talking. I got to play against guys.
How about Greenport? How about how hot it used to be
out
there? That used to be like,
great.
forget it. That was a grind. I remember one year I remember I think we won it. It was with Harvey's, but Vinny wasn't even coming out. I went out and I'm out there and it was like tornadoes and it was like they canceled the whole day. It was like, because that's usually like Saturday, Sunday. So completely Saturday is a complete washout. I think we went to the movies and like screwing around. And then I called Vinny and Pat came out too. I'm like, come out. They're doing it all in one day. Meanwhile, it's like we literally played like 14 games in one day. By the time it ended, it was like 8:00 at night. Our tongues were,
but that's where
on the grass.
That was great. And that's where you could practice new things. You're playing against top players from colleges you might not see. Guys you might not see. Oh, this guy plays at UMass. This guy plays at Hofstra. I don't see those guys that often. Or, some schools and then you see, wow, the guys are skilled everywhere, different styles. And you just get to, you just improve and when you play in like a lot of games like that. We had so much fun between games. Go hang out in the parking lot.
John might remember this, but Vin, you weren't there. But it literally happened up in Glastonbury. Now that you mentioned, we go up typical like ragtag muffin teams that guys are not on time. They don't know what time the game is, but they're coming. And it's like one of these first games. The teams are not that good anyway. We're gonna pummel at least the first team, but we don't have enough guys. We're ready to almost be like forfeiting. Yeah. And I say, Harvey, just stand in the corner. Harvey stood in the corner of the field, like stepped on to like just be on the field of play as like a player. We're playing 9 against 10 until guys actually like coming out of the parking lot and finally coming in. And we won that year. We won up there.
Let me go back a little. Let me ask you this, John, because we all know your lacrosse prowess, but when you were at Manhasset, did you play? Because I've played basketball with you, but I don't know if you actually played on the team at Manhasset or if you played football or soccer or any other sports.
Yeah, I played football all 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
I played outside linebacker and tight end, and I was all county. It was fun. I think football was a lot of fun. It was Coach Cherry. He was a tough coach. I love, probably one of my favorite coaches. And then I played hoops, JV. And then I realized, I probably wasn't going to play hoops in college. So I started running track my junior, senior year. I started doing indoor track, try to get my speed up. So I looked at lacrosse as like defensemen, as like receivers. and D-backs more than linebackers. And so I said, yeah, I got to be able to run. So I do track in the winter, and then I play hoops with you. I play hoops everywhere. We'd play at, we'd play indoor at that place in Port,
Yeah.
the old gym. We'd play everywhere. All the Catholic churches. We'd play at St. Mary's. We'd play, I played a ton of hoops, but I just did that. I love playing. It's very similar, obviously, to playing
Right.
lacrosse. And so I didn't play, but I did. I focused on getting in good shape for lacrosse, and then I played indoor. We had indoor lacrosse back then. We'd play over at Nassau Community College. We'd play like once a week on Sundays.
Was Petro, who was your defensive coach when you were at Hopkins?
Petro
Was the defensive coach
Yeah.
at the time. Wow.
Coach
Okay.
Seaman was the head coach. Petro was the D coach, and Cannabine was our face-off,
Wow.
box guy.
Uh-huh.
Cleaner. So I
By
got
the
to know
way,
him.
and going back, in as far as indoor, because you did play indoor, and I think you ended up at the end. Didn't you play for Philly?
Yeah, I played with the Wings for 2 years.
Did you win a championship when you were with them?
Yeah, I won. The year that we won was like, I want to say 2001.
Yeah, I thought so.
They've one of those. That's nice.
That was awesome. That was a good mixture of Canadians and Americans.
Yeah, I remember you were on a team, and then I remember the other thing I always remember. I think maybe you hurt your shoulder, and you used to wear that contraption, like it looked like a burlap that you used to lace up when you hurt your shoulder.
We played with the Saints together. Remember that? That was great. And in indoor NLL, and yeah, we had a lot of fun. And then our owner called me into the office one day, and he's like, "We traded you." I'm like, "Where am I going?" He's like, "You're going to Syracuse." Paul Gate wanted. I was like, "Oh, man, I don't know if I'm going to Syracuse." I mean, they were at the end. They were like the lowest. I was like, I'm not gonna be able to go up to Syracuse. I'm like, that was a bad trade because I'm not gonna do my side. You're not gonna get what you wanted. I'm like, I'm going to Philly or nowhere. And he's like, no, you got to go to Syracuse. I said, I'm not going to Syracuse. So the trade's void. You're not getting who you want on. Then eventually they traded me to Philly with Steve Govett and Tony Resch.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the best. Resch was a great defensive coach for me indoor. He's like, just do your job. Just, sort of like Belichick.
Right.
Just do your job. I don't want you going in transition. We got Marichek. We got Birdie.
Right.
We got Finn. We don't need you scoring goals. I'm like, all right, I guess I'm just going to, give the ball up. And it was great. Philly was, I love playing with them. I played with Jalbert, one of my best friends, and Jamie Hanford was on the team. So we had a bunch of Americans, Raidable, Slate. We had a bunch of Americans, and then we had a bunch of Canadians, and we mixed really well together.
Uh-huh.
Did you win at Philly? Did you win?
Yeah, we
All right,
won.
so you got a couple of titles.
Yeah, a couple.
You won in college. You're not like me, not winning in college, right?
No, I didn't win. We lost.
Oh, so you didn't win in college either?
No.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
No.
I'm sorry, I'm the only one that's won in college. All right, we'll get into that later on, though.
I'm
just joking around.
To get more in Small's wheelhouse. I'm going to get it more in Small's wheelhouse.
No, you guys can go on. I'm just kidding. I just want to say, first of all, Gags.
Because we all know Smalls is the apparel guy,
Yeah.
and I want to go into, when club was transitioning to the pro league of MLL in terms of the field game, that first year of the Lizards, 2001, was that around the time when you started the situation with Maverick? Like, was that was, as I remember it, that's when I first started to really see it, right around when the MLL was starting.
Yeah, the MLL, we were sponsored. Jalbert and I are good friends, and we were sponsored by Warrior.
Right.
And they'd pay us and go do an appearance here. You going to Denver? Can you visit this store? So we were sponsored by them, and they got sold to New Balance. And then things changed a little bit over there. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to start my own company. I was like, what? Like, why not? And I was working with the Bishops, and I learned they owned our team, the Lizards.
Oh, yeah.
They're majority owners. And then I learned how to start businesses. We started Blue Buffalo. Well, they started Blue Buffalo. I was there when I was like, wait, this can be done. Raising money, building product. I was really into products. And I was like, it can be done. And then so I went to a golf show in Chicago. I flew there for the day, and I knew they would be ahead of the lacrosse world in medals. So I was like, show me the newest materials you guys are using on your shafts, on your club heads, and all this stuff. And they showed me the 70-75 metal that was coming out, and it was the new shaft that had some titanium in it and aluminum. And I was like, ooh, that could be interesting in lacrosse. Everybody wants titanium. It's like 200 plus, and the parents don't want to, necessarily pay $200 for a fifth grader. This has, 10-20% titanium and traces.
Yeah, plus it was heavy. When it was all titanium, it was very heavy.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I said, why don't we bring that to lacrosse world? I got to find someone who can make these things. And so I found a place that could extrude metals, and we launched the Wonder Boy, and that was our first product, the Wonder Boy.
Steven's still waiting by the way, Steven's still waiting for his residuals on that one. He had the original wooden Wonder Boy stick.
I think I probably have it. When I was young, when I was very little, everybody saw the movie The Natural, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I had a wooden handle. And I did it. I think I did it like one of those solderers. I put it like in there as a
Wonder Boy
on a little wooden handle.
Great.
And even Donnie Borges still calls me.
And
Wonder
so
Boy
does Larry Quinn. Larry Quinn always calls you Wonder Boy.
Exactly, Larry Quinn too. And I had it on there.
Yeah. That's where the inspiration came from. The natural.
Everybody.
But when we launched that, none of the parents all knew the movie. The kids didn't know.
Right.
They were like, oh, Wonder Boy, that's a cool name. Like they never heard. So we launched that, and Lacrosse Unlimited was our first big customer, Jody Simone.
But wait a minute, Gags. When you did the handles, I thought for some reason I was remembering, because it was around the time we were on the Lizards together. You initially just were doing some sweatshirts and stuff like that, weren't you?
Yeah, apparel. Yeah, we launched with apparel when we were. We made this is 2005, by the way.
Right.
Later, so we launched with apparel, knowing that the shafts were coming, and we thought the shafts was a good gateway into the store. I also saw how they were merchandising the golf shafts at these golf shops, where the golf shafts are all sticking out, and you see all the golf, and there you grab the club head, and I was like, we should do a display like that. We could put all the shafts in there, and now when you go into a Lacrosse Unlimited or Lax World, you could see our shafts would be separated from the other shafts during these great displays, and so we made these beautiful displays that could hold 24 shafts, and that was our first thing. And so once that took off, I was like, whoa, we might have something here. And I hired some guys from Bauer Hockey. I hired some developers, designers, and they actually were at the Lax convention. They're like, whoa, this is pretty cool what you're doing over here. I said, thank you. We're looking to get into equipment eventually. And they were like, all right. And so I kept in touch with them, and I talked to them, and I eventually brought them on full time, and they knew how to make very similar to hockey equipment. They knew how to make the shoulder pads, the gloves, the elbow pads. And we just started developing products. And and then we had back then direct to consumer wasn't as big. So we went traditional route through retail, which would be like Jody Simone, Lax.com, John Erickson, those guys.
Did you sell directly to camps back then at one time?
We never sold direct. We never did. We would gift camps to say, hey, give. You must
have gave stuff or something like that.
Yeah, we would go to a
Kenny
camp.
Berry from Copeg. I remember they saying they're sponsored by you, and I hadn't heard that. I said, well, who are they?
Yeah. We would give 5 shafts. Here, give this to your MVPs, and we'd get up in front of the whole camp. And we had our own camps back then. Paul Carcatera and myself. We had no limit.
Well, there's another thing. Listen, one thing about Gags, he's the ultimate pivoter. He knows right when to pivot to the next thing. You were here's another question. You were sort of on the budding, emerging end of what club lacrosse became. You
Yeah.
had your teams. You had club lacrosse teams right at the
Vaqueros.
inception of what club lacrosse
Yeah.
even
The
No
no
was,
limit
you know?
ballers. The no limit ballers.
Exactly,
Yeah.
the
My nephew
ballers.
Jeff was
And
on one of your
Vaqueros.
first teams, right, Jesse?
Yeah,
right?
all the Vaqueros.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we saw that the evolution was happening from camps to teams. And we were like, oh, we should do a team. We made some sick all-star teams. I mean, we had Bitter, the Vaqueros, we had the Bocklets, we had merged the best Westchester and Long Island kids together, and we were dominating. And it just got bigger and bigger. And then what happened was a lot of our players started getting recruited. You know, like
How many teams were like how did it even start? Like there were just a couple teams going, and then you were like, we got no limit. Now you're one of only a few teams, just like
yeah, the first teams were actually our old owners of indoor out on Eastern Long Island.
Gongi.
Gongas.
He had his team, right?
He had his team, I think, and they were like they needed people to play, and I think they challenged like No Limit or something. I was like, all right, we'll go, and I just I knew we were going to win.
Come in.
They were like right behind it. And I think they changed a lot of it. They came in, Mike and them, and they brought it to a different level as far as
yeah. I mean, this is how this
recruiting,
blows up, right? I mean, it's like
and then all of a sudden, like it became from a part-time thing. I was also working to a full-time thing, and these guys started doing it full-time.
Right.
It was evolution of club lacrosse, and then Express came.
Would you ever imagine when you were doing that? When you were doing that, getting your little no limit ballers out there, guys are running around. Like club lacrosse would be like what you're seeing now. Like
now, everyone plays. Back then, it was the top 2%. You know, it was the top. The rest of the kids went to camps. They worked on their game but it wasn't. And then all of a sudden, the tournaments started happening. We had tournaments too. We had the big time shootout. We had
you went to Hershey. Didn't you do something in Hershey?
We did that with we had like 5 tournaments, and it just got bigger and bigger. And then that's how we introduced Maverick through all these events. Maverick would sponsor, Showtime, Clarkson.
Right.
Maverick would Showtime, the big time shootout. Maverick would sponsor all these tournaments and travel teams. These kids were on billboards walking around with Maverick gloves, playing against the best teams from New Jersey and Connecticut and Long Island. And now all of a sudden, people are like, what are those? Those are the new Maverick stuff. And we used our teams as a platform to blow up Maverick. And we strategically went after certain areas where we thought we could win.
Yeah, and it's it was also cost effective,
Yeah.
You're not spending a ton of money in terms of advertising, you're out there product,
Exactly.
So, John, you were, excuse me. So you were actually, when you opened Marriott, you were a distributor / manufacturer too? Were you making your own product then too? Or you?
Yeah, we were making everything. You
were Maverick, you were copying all those other guys, and what I'm not saying copying them, but making your own thing.
Yeah, we would make our own gloves.
Wow.
We had our own patents. We had the shark gel, which is like we got from the ski industry. I was watching skiing one day.
They didn't like that, man. STX, did they try at the time to come in and change your product and get something to prove where you couldn't sell it, where you made the gloves like they did to the Gates?
Yeah, ironically, obviously the incumbents didn't love us. We were the new guys. We brought more energy. We had Jalbert filming we were the first ones doing crazy videos. We thought that was the future. Like this is when like Facebook and YouTube were starting to pop.
Yeah.
And the kids were on there and we were doing sick videos. Kyle Sweeney, Jalbert. We knew we had to get into the video game, and we had the best, Jalbert. And so we were filming like all the time. And we were the first to do that. And I think the other guys were like, wow, these guys have some edge. And we signed some edgy people too. We brought, Johnny Christmas. He was the best. We love Johnny. We brought Johnny Christmas in.
Yeah, some edgy guys that could move the product.
Yeah, Johnny was our guy. We had guys working with us that were we positioned ourselves as a more edgier, non-boarding school, the new age of lacrosse.
Right, so the Maverick gloves and the sticks, were you making them in the United States or you were overseas at the time?
No, those are overseas, and I would go to China and visit our
You actually
factory.
go. Where did you go? Guangzhou? Where did you go?
Yeah, Guangzhou, Shantou. I
Benny, no,
fly-
Benny, I said it wrong because I have a speech impediment. My dear Benny, I got a dot checker.
Yeah,
I
we-
figured he would have known, but he didn't dot check me on Guangzhou. But thank you,
Guangzhou.
Mr. Patrick.
So the funniest thing is I was over there, and I knew Paul Gate from playing against him, and I love the Gates, Gary and Paul, the best.
Oh yeah, they're like Superman.
They're the best. So I was over in China visiting a factory, and you have the factory that makes your gloves, you have your factory that makes your goals, your factory that makes your heads, the factory that makes
Amazing.
your balls, like whatever. I'm in a factory, and I'm walking in. I see Paul Gate walking out. This is in China.
What?
Yeah,
That's insane.
yeah. We
But
use
they
the same
probably
glove
think
factory.
it's probably 1 month a year where they have visitors, and they probably knew you guys would come. Probably didn't tell you, but he knew you were coming up, so they probably set it up like that.
Yeah, you'd go visit when you're on the line, when you're creating product and they're making your stuff for like a month straight. You go visit them at that time to make sure it's going well. And
Did
so
did you do small runs at like 100 dozen or what was the minimum? Because the minimum was much bigger back then as they are today. Today
Yeah,
you
we
can go
would-
in and make 100 lacrosse sticks. Might cost a little bit more, but you're allowed to make them. Back then
we
it
were
was
doing thousands. We were doing
right.
thousands.
So 100 dozen, yeah. So that's a lot.
Pre-booking, like we were booking 6 months ahead of time. We
Yeah.
knew we were making maybe you do a surplus of 20%, but a lot of these were spoken for already. They were booked, and
Who had the
eventually
molds? Who came up with the molds? Who had all the molds? You did?
Wait. What year is that? Well, I'm curious on the story with Paul Gates.
So 2005, we launched Maverick. And we
Right.
sold
Okay.
it in 2010 back
So
to.
he's coming out of there. Your former teammates. We won the championship together.
We see
and all
Paul
of
in
that.
there. Paul's probably not happy. He sees me. We're using the same factory. Gate
Right.
makes great products,
Oh, he does.
and we were in the same factory. He's like, he's probably like, how the hell did this guy get into our factory? And
But
yeah,
guys, in all due respect, there's really only 5 to 10 factories, if that, and they make it like it's much bigger, but it's really not. And in fact, the product that you make usually gets outsourced to another part. They let you come into the factory, they think they're making it, and then there's other places where they do actually manufacture some of it where you don't see it. That's I don't want to get into that gray area.
Factories had sub factories down in like Thailand and other places
I
where.
mean,
But yeah, these it's funny stories because you're over there and you run into all the lacrosse people. Well, some lacrosse people. and
that's the best story. You ran into Gary Gay.
yeah, and
What is
yeah,
this
it's
kid
great.
doing here?
He's great. And,
Yeah.
and we were up and coming. They were one of the big guys, and it was fun.
Gags, let me ask you a question, because now when you were with when you started Maverick with a few other guys, was that kind of, I guess, Dave Morrow, with Warrior had a little head start on you, right? I mean, Dave, from what I remember, look, he goes back to his Princeton days when he came with the Shaft, and then, of course, he started to expand out into the other parts of the equipment, and he sponsored the World Games in '98 down in Baltimore, which was a good move.
That was huge.
That was big
Yeah.
for him. He, I saw him after the game when they had a win in overtime. He was dying. He said, if we would have lost, they would have blamed my equipment. But, but I do remember, when he started to get into making the heads, right? And I believe, I don't know whether it was Brian or STX, somebody, they sued him for patent infringement.
Brian.
It was Brian.
Yeah.
And
We were in lawsuits.
and I remember, no, because I figured that's one of the obstacles, they're going to throw in front of you. So it was funny because I was playing on the Saints at the time, and Mark Millen was working for Dave Morrow with Warrior. He was my roommate, and we got those afternoons to kill after you fly in, and Mark's sleeping, and he's my roommate, and the phone rings, and I pick up the phone, and on the other end, the guy just says, we won. So I said, what do we win? Who's this? You know, and it was Dave
Yeah.
Mark. He thought I was Mark on the phone, you know. So I said,
It was,
That's a good
and
story.
he said, oh,
Yeah.
Vinny. I said, no, Mark is sleeping. He's here. So I said, what'd you win? So he said, the case for the patent infringement. We're going to be able to move forward with the heads and the whole bit. And that was when that broke loose. So I guess there's some kind of precedent is set like that in terms of patents and stuff. You kind of get a bit of a free reign to you know, mass.
Yeah, but they didn't like John. I can tell you that. As things were growing, this little peanut was
No,
coming.
nobody does. Nobody
Yeah.
wants.
This little peanut
Why
was
would
coming to
anybody
be
want
somebody.
competition? You know, nobody wants
It's
competition.
like anything else in life.
Everybody wants to be the only game.
He's a very humble guy, yeah.
But look, the market also started to grow exponentially, didn't it, John? I mean, the market
yeah.
has really grown. And look, I even remember, you know, you talk about lacrosse guys and different guys. I know Sal worked for Warrior for a while. Different guys,
Yeah.
high level players that they roped into or asked for jobs, and they helped them and they worked. And I even remember that Catrano, right? He started on the lacrosse side, and then he ended up with hockey, didn't he? Or something, or soccer.
But Vinny, in all due respect, you know, the Brody said I'm not going to name call because we're not about that, right? We can't name call, but a lot of these guys were trying to knock out the guys like him, and they were cornering stuff. They sit in our meetings and say, how are we going to get rid of this guy? It was a small market at the time. He was a nudge. But he was up and coming. They didn't want anybody to catch on.
That's no surprise. Why would anybody want any competition?
Well, but in that market, it was so small at the time. You didn't have businessmen from all over the country trying to go in. You had guys mostly that were lacrosse players and this and that. It's a niche market, and they cornered the market. That some of the teams, when they want to distribute the stuff, they can only distribute it at certain stores. There's a company called Lax. Let's see if you guys are smart. Another company called Lax, the guy passed away about 10 years ago. You can know the name of the other big Lax company? The guy had a lot of money. He was a distributor.
Lax World?
No. There's a Long Island kid, sold fences.
He wasn't at this level of guys. He had a few stores.
No, but hold on. He was a distributor. He had stuff in one. He was growing it. He did it for his daughter. Like that. But I'm saying, they cornered him and didn't want him to sell anything.
Like a typical Smalley, like knows like 25% of the story.
No, sell 25%. They cornered the whole market. There's only two companies left.
Yeah.
They do it to Gate now. They do it to Gary Gate. You guys don't follow it. You guys don't follow the real manufacturing end of it. There's nobody left. Tell me who's manufacturing stuff besides the two big companies, Brian, and now they got bought out. Nobody. Who does it?
So the two biggest, I think, now are Maverick Cascade and STX.
Yeah, they got bought out. Same three.
Yeah, and Brian, they unfortunately they let it fade away. It turned into a girls brand, and then they're just they propped up Warrior.
And they beat up on the games now.
Warrior,
they beat up on them and trying to knock them out of the box.
Warrior,
that's what you're doing.
Warrior still has products or no?
No, they sold
certain products. They do. They make a helmet. Yeah. But it was a very litigious time where everyone was getting sued and everyone was suing everyone. I was in lawsuits with Warrior, and you had to defend yourself. Everyone was protecting the head patents. Ironically, Bobby Rule was the one who designed a lot of these Brian heads.
Yeah, he was the original.
And he was on. Yeah, he was on a lot of these patents. And so it was a unique time. We were growing pretty fast. Bauer wanted to get into the lacrosse world. A company called Kohlberg bought Bauer, and they wanted to bring them public. Kohlberg and Company, and then they said, "What else?" And then they bought us to have a lacrosse story, and that was 2010. And it was an interesting time. It was a great time to be in lacrosse. Now it's a little different. You got companies selling direct to consumer. You have
But you got boards now that have to approve the product. So you get certain people that sit on the board. It's like everything else. Who knows who, whatever. And that's how our dear friends are getting knocked out of the boxing on some product. They get stuck with.
Gate sort of dominates the female side of the game. But now you need approval on these heads from U.S. Lacrosse to get.
Whoa,
to
whoa,
make
whoa!
sure-
Excuse me, John. When you say U.S. Lacrosse, who you talking about? USA Magazine. Who is U.S. Lacrosse? Who?
U.S. Lacrosse has a
A board
rules
that
committee.
sanctions the stick.
Yeah, the committee of college coaches, girls and male and female. That's
not like the rules committee, is it? What is it?
Yeah, it's a committee that on equipment. There's a committee that says, this gate head is. I'm not on the U. I used to be on the U.S. Lacrosse board. Year and a half ago, my term ended, but they approve a lot of the stuff. They want to make sure.
And then he just got stuck with product that he manufactured. Could be $500,000 million sitting in the warehouse. They can't even sell it. And this is how they shut people down.
They'll sell it
Well,
to club guys, and they'll use it. There's no
You
rules.
can't do it. It's illegal. You can't do it.
So
He knows what I mean.
I think U.S. Lacrosse paused on approving anything new, and Paul, from what I heard, launched another new amazing product, and they're just said, we're not going to approve this right now. And Paul's
Exactly.
Paul's
Exactly.
that happened a couple months ago. I still help out with Maverick Cascade, so full transparency. I hear
Well,
all
I
this
tell you,
stuff.
I can tell you one thing I like about Maverick right now. I said it the other day. I texted Brian O'Keefe, another
Yeah.
former indoor teammate. His son's playing in the All-Star game, and I say, "Oh man, those arm pads." I go, "What are those arm pads?"
Yeah, those are
that
cool,
Mac
right?
is wearing? I gotta get me some of those arm pads. I go, those things look good. They look, because my
Yeah,
arms are going
sleeves.
good, either falling down because I got noodle arms, and I'm like. He goes, it's two pieces actually. It's a regular
Yeah.
arm pad, and then it's got a sleeve over the top. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's a good idea. And he goes, and they stay up. I go, they look good.
Yeah,
You know
that's
why these companies close it out? You know why they have a board to close it out? To stop everybody from manufacturing. Because anybody today could probably try to all the sticks right now from China. They got the molds and everything. Maybe not exactly to his. They got tons of molds. They get it for $10, $15 a stick, $20 a stick. You know what I mean? Basically, so inexpensive.
I think the U.S. Lacrosse is doing it to protect. I think the speed of the shots on the girl side.
Right.
I'm guessing that's why they're doing it. Like it's getting more physical and aggressive, and they're trying to get in front of it so that the girls potentially don't have to wear equipment one day, helmets. I'm from what I'm hearing, and that would be their. I don't want to speak for them, but that would be their.
Yeah, they got
talking
safety,
point.
they got safety concerns. I mean, look, the girl,
Yeah.
the girl Lizzie Skane, she shot 91 or something at the All-Star.
Jeez.
And no helmets. How dumb are we in society? A woman gets a shot in the head, no helmets.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want
No
to her
helmets.
shot crossing in front of the
How do they wear no helmets? I can't
Well,
figure
that's
that
how it
out.
was. The game is changing every day, and the rules and the sticks and everything else. They
What's the mark?
they should adapt to it, and I think
How much they women use?
and I think they will adapt to it. They are. That's why they actually have probably a sitting board that discusses these things.
Yeah, but it should have been a while ago.
But
They did this
everybody
10
is
years
trying
ago.
to gain an advantage in terms of, look, you talk about Bobby Rule. When I first started playing, I was playing goalie, and he actually came down and watched me and coached me up a little bit. And I was playing in the wood stick era. You couldn't really shoot that hard with a wood stick. Took you 2 years to break a stick in. Now, we were on teams, Gags knows, we're riding on the bus. Guys are stringing new sticks for that game, They take it off the bus and they play with it. Back then, forget it. You couldn't do that. But everything, it's an evolution. And I think, like I said this the other day about safety with different things when we were talking about safety in these club teams and, these kids getting burned out and all of that. They really, we were talking about it related to refereeing, right? But
Oh, don't start with refereeing now,
I'm not,
man. You have to bring that up.
I just refer.
Protect the zebras, my
There
new
we
guy.
go.
I'm sorry.
So what I'm saying is, I think lacrosse has, they're really concerned about safety factor because kids are playing younger and younger, and the skill level at even younger ages is getting better and better. And even the young kids, you're talking about 8, 9, 10-year-olds can sling it pretty good. So they have to make, they got to figure out how to keep the kids safe. It's like Little League, right? Some kids got hit with a pitch. Unfortunately, the timing, they got hit, and in between beats, the kid gets killed with a baseball pitch to the chest.
Yeah.
So what did? They start Little League piss. They got a board, and they put together those heart protectors now. I think they make the kids wear.
And now it's part of the lacrosse equipment.
Right.
Now all
So
of the
these are the
shoulder
things.
pads
I mean,
have
look,
heart
obviously
protectors.
there's an evolution and they learn on the fly, but, we're talking about two different things. One is, the protection and safety. And then you're talking about on the other side, competition in terms of companies that want to get in the business and make money. But you got to proceed with caution because, like you just said, Smalls, you may be left with a ton of inventory that doesn't mean anything because it can't even be used in games.
And you can't even give it away.
Well, you could always give it away because
Well, excuse me, you're wrong with that.
why?
Because if you give it away, it's a lawsuit. If they use his stick and someone gets hurt with his stick, they'll
Well,
sue
I
you.
don't know about using it because it would be outlawed in a game. But if a kid just wanted to have a stick so he could practice in his backyard, something, I don't know that would be outlawed. But kids jerry rig sticks and do all kinds of things all the time with that kind of stuff. But look, obviously they're trying to do what's best, and everybody's trying to gain an advantage. When one of the first things, plastic head came into being, that gave an advantage. There were guys still playing with wood while some guys were playing with plastic.
Gags is going bald here. Gags, are you receding here?
Yeah.
Oh no.
So one more thing, and then I'm gonna run to the bathroom real quick. The patent on the offset. The reason why this thing exploded, the patent on the offset, patents last 17 years, and it expired.
Mhm.
It expired. It turned into the Wild West. Everyone was making offsets. They're taking it to a different level. And that created, I think that's when U.S. Lacrosse stepped in and said, we got to just monitor this a little bit and just make sure it doesn't get more out of control. So,
Wow. What's the market for girls?
Let's go back to the OG, though. I got to go back to the OG.
let me take one second. Let me 1 second.
Go ahead.
All right.
We got a bathroom.
I like the background he has. Look at the stuff. Dude.
We'll
What,
talk about that. I want to go back. Vin. I want to.
wow, the shoes look nice.
I want to talk about the original Mr. Gags, and I want to talk about what he's got on the shelf back there because.
Hey, what color shoes did he make? 3 guys. I want to get my purchase. 3 guys, many games.
All right.
Needs Gag shoes.
Okay.
What color, Billy, would you like? I like red. I like something with red.
I like red, white, and blue.
Vin's an American. Vin likes the American shoes. By the way, Smalls, we're getting a lot of requests for that hat.
Yeah, it's good, man.
For the fans. They want a link. They want a store.
You should have had a little tent out there at the NLF thing. There was a zillion people there. So
What's the NLF?
the lacrosse tournament that just took place, the national challenge there. They had all the best teams out at Stony Brook and at Farmingdale. They had 1 million teams there, and they had tents and stuff.
So
Hey, guys, just a little something that my dear friend over here, my 2 dear friends, I love them, but not too much we do agree on. So, but I do love them, very dear people, I have to say.
You too.
But I'm wearing a hat here that Steven brought up because we had some requests, and let me just show you guys. Can you see it, Vinny?
Yeah. Last slide.
yeah.
And just flip it for a second. Take it like 2 seconds.
Oh yeah, I see the towers.
He knew it. The kid knew. Well, I lost 12 friends at the at Canterbury Show. My family, we lost an aunt of ours. She was a lawyer at Canterbury Show, my wife's aunt.
Wow.
And so I didn't know what to do. I was kind of lost a little bit at that time,
Yeah.
So I kind of like was sketching around. And I came up with this hat,
Really.
the Twin Towers. You
Yeah.
got the thing, and like last night was I thought it was just. Hold on. I love Billy Guy, Billy. I'm not worried. I always. I like
I'm
to
just
flex
saying
here.
because you said so you waited 23 years to do it.
Well, John, I didn't get my other word in because he always does that to me. Whatever, but
So I wanted to go back to the original, the OG, Mr. Gags. Well,
Yeah.
another legend, a guy who I adored being around many times. When we were before the MLL started, and we were playing in club lacrosse, and we all know that USCLA was the professional league of lacrosse prior to MLL, and when we would even just because we were into it, everybody was into it. When we would go see games like you guys were playing, maybe North Hempstead or something, and me and Vin would just go there to pop and go in the stands, and we'd sit by Mr. Gags, and we'd have some laughs up in the stands. He was just a treasure to be around.
John, what type of guy was he? You died.
He's a Brooklyn guy, and he loves.
He likes pizza and cigars.
He loves shoes and sports, and he loved the sombreros. He thought they were like, oh, these are like my buddies I grew up with. These two.
So
He's
I'll
like,
tell you a
"These
funny
guys."
story about with your father. When we went to watch you play, you were playing for the AC, and we were in Denton Avenue. You were playing North Hempstead. I was sitting up there with your father, and the game starts getting a little rough. And every time there's a penalty, and the guy's going to go in, your father, myself, were saying from the movie, Bronx Step.
Yeah.
Put him in the bathroom. Put him in the
Yeah, put him in-
bathroom. And your father loved
He
that.
loved-
Every time there was a penalty, he kept saying that.
Put him in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Put him in the
He
bathroom.
loved hanging out with you guys. 'cause
That's
he's
great.
He was a part,
The
but
other guy-
listen, I think,
Yeah.
you really get your entrepreneurial senses from your dad. I mean, you could speak on it much better than me. Your dad had, and with, I think, your uncle, right? They had a very successful
Yeah.
store in Queens. I went there a couple times with the mates
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I always used to notice, like, when you started coming around and, playing with us, you always seemed to have like Nikes that like nobody had yet. And I was like, where did I get all these sneakers? You always had the best stuff, the best gear. And then he said, no, my father has the store. And I said, where is it? And then I had to take a ride there to check it out. It was amazing.
So
Yeah,
is
my
that
dad-
is that a little full circle of like getting into now what you're doing now,
Queens.
and being that your dad? Give us a little bit of that.
Yeah, so my dad grew up in Brooklyn, and he was trying to figure out what he's going to do, and so him and my uncle had a Pepsi route in Brooklyn, and they had a successful Pepsi route, and he loved it. And then he saw the sneaker in the 70s, the sneaker craze starting to happen. Everybody was wearing different types of sneakers. The Chuck Taylors were obviously big back then. And
Converse.
yeah, and then
Magic Johnson, Larry Bird did that thing.
yeah, then the weapons came and all that stuff. But then there was a sneaker franchise called Sneaker Circus that was happening in Brooklyn and Queens, and my dad bought one of the franchises, and he picked his location in Ozone Park, Queens, and it did really well. And he couldn't get enough shoes. And so he couldn't get enough shoes. He'd sell out and be like, and they were distributing shoes, equally to the different locations, sneaker circuses in Brooklyn and Queens. And my dad eventually, which was the smartest move, is he broke away from the franchise. He hired an attorney to legally break away. And so he could start dealing with the manufacturers, the Nikes, the Converses, the Adidases of the world, the New Balances direct. And so when he did that successfully and formed the relationships directly with them. And then his business started growing exponentially. And then he had the Pepsi route and the sneaker store. He was an entrepreneur, and, he started doing pretty well. And my mom always wanted to move to Long Island. And so they were looking at places, and it was down between Manhasset and Garden City. We go on weekends to check out the two towns. Ironically, they're very both strong in lacrosse. And our good friends, the Vopis, moved to Garden City. Richie Vopi and Brian Vopi, those guys who played in college as well. And then we found a great house in Manhasset. We decided to move to Manhasset. And then when I was 10, and because the business was doing well, and then I would go work at my dad's store in the summers. In the summers, I would go sell sneakers, and it's a diverse crew in Queens. You saw everything: Italian, Irish, Indian, Jamaican, everything. JFK is close by. So I was interacting, selling shoes. My dad would put me outside the store with 2 tables, and we had a $10 rack where you get rid of anything they couldn't sell for $10. And so I would be outside selling shoes. I'd be outside and he'd be like, okay, you got to sell at least 50 pairs today. They're $10. People walk past us, $10, what size you 6. And for $10, they would just fly. And so we get rid of old inventory. And that's when, I started to see what was going on at the bigger companies, obviously Nikes and Converses and Adidas and New Balance. I was like, that's really cool. I started getting into product, started wearing a lot of the products and just understanding how these formed. And then eventually, I started Maverick. I understood a little bit how products work. And then eventually after I sold that, I learned a ton. And then, launching Kane's 3 years ago, last month.
Wow, it's only been 3 years. It seems like
3 years
longer.
ago.
That's amazing. They're
Hey, John, hold that up again for the viewers.
Yeah.
Like on the side, I see there's a little logo. That's your logo, Canes. It's
This
a
is
circle,
the
right,
LA
with a
Clippers.
K.
This is
the
the
Brooklyn
Clippers.
Nets.
We did shoes for the Clippers.
Excuse me, I can't see.
Oh, that's
I'm sorry.
These are for the Clippers. We did shoes
Oh, yeah,
for
that's
the
the
Clippers. We
Clippers.
do.
Oh, cool.
So it's an active recovery shoe. It's a shoe you would wear after playing lacrosse, basketball, hockey. Take your socks off. Let your feet breathe.
So look at this, Smalls.
Yeah, he's got a
my man
Gatorade.
Sammy.
Oh, break it out.
Unboxing.
Oh, man.
You got to.
Holy cow. How did you get a pair?
Limited
You
edition.
promised me a pair at the suite.
Now look at that.
Oh,
I gotta know about this.
Excuse me.
What is
See,
that?
hold up. Beds, what's the orange? I see.
That's
What is it?
The
Flash.
Gatorade
I'm a
Bowl.
flash. That's the Gatorade.
What's the orange? Or red?
So we
That's an
did
orange bolt.
Gatorade.
A bolt.
Gatorade.
Wow, it's beautiful.
Gatorade invited us to the Super Bowl this past year in Las Vegas, and we gifted all their athletes Kane footwear for our recovery.
Great.
We did a
Great.
Gatorade shoe.
Well, that's
So give us an idea of this in terms of it says about what's the situation.
Hold
with-
on, show it. What's
What's
I love
the
it.
Kane situation?
Wow, I love it, man.
I after Maverick, I started to get involved in some other brands like Legends, our friend Scott Hochstad out from Maryland, about a couple of other brands. And this is the power of lacrosse, right? You start meeting people. We become friends. I become friends with the guys from Maryland, from Princeton, from Virginia, Jalbert. And you start doing work with all of them. And so I had designer friends that worked at Nike and other brands. And I said, we started sketching out shoes. And I said, I want to create, I don't mind Crocs. Like I don't bash them or anything. I like Crocs. They're fine. I just thought we could evolve the whole Croc and make it a functional shoe. So I hired all these designers and I wanted to make it out of a sustainable material. So these are made out of sugar cane. They start out as beads like this, and then they get put into a mold machine, sort of like a head. And these are, we formed Kane 3 years ago. And I had a podiatrist. So a podiatrist worked with us to give it some active recovery attributes.
So where do you get the material from?
They're from the fields of Brazil, Sierra, a region of Brazil.
I thought you were going to say you were in business with Pablo Escobar or something.
No, so we make these in Brazil, and I knew I wanted to manufacture them somewhere else outside in South America. I wanted to focus on. So we make these in Brazil.
Where do you make them? Baja de Juca? Ipanema? I know a little bit.
They're Fortaleza. You know what Fortaleza is?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I
go
went there
down
for
there.
about 6 months.
Smalls. I'm not that.
Oh, they're nice, bro. They're beautiful.
But I
You
tell
gotta
you,
get you guys compares. Vinny and Rob.
You send me
No,
a
don't
pair and I
worry
end
about
up
it.
giving them to my nephew.
Let's
I like
know.
them. Though. I love them.
I tell you that the thing about them is
Thank you.
they're compared to a Croc, they're more like a shoe, which is really something that's sometimes that it's a nicer feel on your foot than something that's a little looser.
Yeah, and that was we wanted to create this for athletes, and so we hired a podiatrist and we asked him what was the biggest, what are the biggest issues you got people walking in, and he's a podiatrist for NBA players, ultramarathoners, marathoners. He said a lot of people, we have to create a shoe that takes the stress off your Achilles, off your calves, and so
I ain't bad.
That's fucking amazing, man.
So the elevated heel to toe. So the heel, this is 10 millimeter heel to toe drop. This is a 2-piece mold. I'll show you the actual mold. This is upwards mold. And then, so this is a 2-piece mold. And this is firmer than this. You don't want to be too soft where your feet are in like sand. So we made that firmer.
Hey, John, what does the mold cost? Is it like $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 for a mold?
A lot more. Well, you got to make them per size too.
Oh, per size. You got to make them per size. Wow.
We got to make them. We make them from C11, children's 11, to we make size 18 for the NBA and NFL.
Oh, kids don't have to 18. Wow, 18 molds. That's amazing.
Yes, and there is the first size.
That's insane.
Here's a little kid shoe.
Vincenzo.
Little kid shoe.
Very nice.
This is a big, and then so we just launched a kids line last year, but we work with 22 NFL teams. So what happened was all the training staff for these NFL teams started calling us saying, and we do colleges too. We were just on with Houston yesterday. We're doing their football team, Missouri, Ohio State. We work with a lot of.
And then you recycle them too.
Yeah, when you're done with them, you send them back. You get a credit, and then we make yoga mats out of them.
Great.
Wow.
Idea.
Hey, John, tell the viewers when, say somebody to order them, what would be a minimum order? 72, 100, 1,000? And how long does it take?
You could buy one pair from our website, but then we have a team division. And we do 25 here.
And how long would it take? Probably 4 to 6 weeks, 2 months?
Well, if we do domestic customization, like we did for Gatorade, it takes about a month.
That's great.
We do customization down in Brazil. We put the logo on the side, or like that takes a little bit longer. That's like 4 months. All the NFL teams, they do them down in Brazil.
The corners.
Oh, they're great.
Yeah, and so this was down in Brazil because they want their custom colors, they want their logo, Chargers. So these.
What's that little thing do in the back? The string. What does that do?
You hang them from your backpack if you go hiking.
Pull them on.
It helps put them on. For the Texans, a lot of schools, they don't like the big logo. They want something subtle.
Wow.
So we do it. We work with a lot of. It's the Chiefs. They order every year. We did these for the Chiefs. So these are done down in Brazil.
Guys, you gotta get into that Swiftie market. You gotta have a Taylor Swift one.
I know.
Tell that Travis Kelce.
Good
do
call,
something.
Benny.
Let's go.
I know. That'd be huge.
Benny, he did 200. The whole lacrosse community would shut down.
Yeah.
They were making Swifties.
What's truly remarkable, Smalls, when you're hearing, and this has just been, to me, I know him because I've known him for a very long time. We're talking, and it's so much the innovation and the businesses and the creativity. You almost forget this guy was one of the most dominant guys playing at a time. He was the guy.
Yeah.
He could shut down. I'm going to tell you a funny story, and this is probably, relatively speaking, not that long ago. It was probably like 2017 or 18. We're up in Lake Placid. We're playing in one of the Giza divisions, and I'm talking to Barossa, and the little guy from Inside Lacrosse.
Yeah,
comes up, he sees us
John
talking.
Gelati.
Yeah, and he says, and he's asking us about the teams, and right at the time, it was like, I can't remember the teams that were in the playoffs, but John Grant Jr. is playing, and he had just scored like 10 goals in a semifinal game or something in one of the games. And he's older, obviously, and he's still like just scoring goals like crazy. Yeah. And I think they won the championship that year, and he says, and he says, "Well, how do you think your guys' team, the Lizards, would do against that team?" And I'm like, I think we'd win. I don't know. I don't know many stronger teams than our first team. When you
Yeah.
look at the guys top to
First
bottom
couple.
on that roster in 2001, I still think that's one of the best teams I ever played on in terms of talent. And then
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, but Grant. I'm like, yeah, Grant's scoring 10 goals now. I go, we had Gags covering him. He was not doing anything in 2001. I go, Denver should have hired Gags just for the day to go out and cover him. I think they would have done better.
Yeah. Grant was one of the guys.
So sorry, big guy. Goldie, don't worry. I'm on the podcast. Can I call you back?
Grant was
here
one of
you
the
go.
best
Thank you.
Here
Thank
you
you.
go.
players. He gave everyone fits. I had to always cover him every time we played. And
That was
I
your
covered
guy.
him
That was your guy.
and the U.S. team. I had to cover him when we played Canada, and he was a beast. I knew he wanted top side to get his hands free. I'd force him underneath, and Patty. I was always playing with Pat, and maybe Nikki, and I'd be like, "Listen, I'm gonna push him underneath. You guys better come." It's one of those.
How much do you weigh, John? You look like a very tiny man. I mean,
weigh
were
like
you?
205.
Oh, you played at 205.
Oh, and I played like 195.
I didn't realize you're that big.
Yeah.
Oh, you got guns, yeah. But the one thing I have to notice, when I first met you, when you came to the booth and everything,
Yeah.
what was it, Vinny? He came to the
Ultra.
booth, whatever. I noticed very much, and I do notice this, and my wife notices, is one thing we always notice. I appreciated your kindness in all due respect. That's Vinny and him are the kindest people I know, other than when I'm arguing with them. But no, I noticed you were very nice. When you left, thank you, Smalls, whatever.
Yeah.
I noticed the courteous. Who did you get that from? Your father? Your mother?
His mother's
Yeah,
a gem also.
Yeah, I think my parents were always.
I appreciate the kindness. I always say that to everybody. My wife,
Yeah.
you meet these people, they come in and out of the suite. Everybody's somebody. Like Vinny says,
Yeah.
before you come to our suite, you got to send your resume in. I'm a doctor. I'm a 4-time world
Yeah.
player. And my net worth is $600 million. Before you. So Vinny throws it. He goes, nah, that's good enough. Next. There's so many guys he has to come. That's like,
Yeah.
he goes, this is the shoe guy. The shoe. I go, who is he? He's a nice guy. I kept saying, Steve, no, he's the shoe guy. Oh, I love the shoes.
Yeah.
But
it's
these
great.
guys really, in all due respect, Gads, they loved you and promoted you. And these guys, like, I love them to death. They got hearts of gold, man.
I
I
know.
don't agree with them much in life, but the heart is like in the right place and golden. And they really talk so nice
Thank
about
you.
you, which I think is
got-
very good.
I got lucky to meet these guys and play in the same time period. They helped me out, like being a younger guy coming from a different area, trying to get to the next level.
Well,
Was
God,
Vinny
here
that
we
good,
go.
John? Like, would you put him up with, like,
Yeah,
No, I'm not
Vinny.
no,
I
is he
played
up?
with
Would
Vin-
you put him up with the Gates? I'm not saying he's better than the Superman, but would you put him in an upper echelon with some of the Grants, the guy that gets, I mean, these guys were like sharpshooters, like him.
First couple years I played with Vinny, he was playing, and then he coached us. Yeah, he was scoring. He was one of our go-to guys. Him, Jalbert, AJ, Hogan. And
Oh, man, I love that kid.
indoor, by the way, indoor is not for everyone. No one, I'd say 20% of Americans can play indoor, if that. Vinny and Steven were very good indoor. I mean, very good indoor. A lot of guys can't play indoor.
You know what he
Right?
can't? You know what Smalls can't wrap his head around, Gags?
Yeah.
This is what he can't wrap his head around sometimes.
Why does a guy just give you the story of life?
Yeah, he always likes to put it. He always likes to say, "Is this guy this level? This guy that level?
Yeah.
This guy that
John,
level?"
what did I do wrong?
Let me finish.
I'm highlighting.
The
I haven't
only
seen that on the.
The only
I'm
thing
back to the base. I've gone back to being a lobster. I'm a pond crawler.
What he can't comprehend is he looks at us and he says, "Well, they don't look like much. How are they always winning?" And that's the skill. In the end of the day, it doesn't matter how you look. That's the beauty about lacrosse. You
No,
can-
John, I give them credit, but I always say to him, I say to Vinny, and I kid around. And obviously, I admire all the stuff lacrosse people do. I always would say, Vinny, had you trained me or I'd been in the right spot, what would it be? First team All American or second? And Vinny always, very nice guy, said you'd be first team, Smalls.
Nice.
Point. No, but I
No, but
realize
these
how hard
guys-
it is.
So the way I look at a lot of lacrosse, playing it from every level, is how do these guys translate into indoor? Because a lot of guys,
Oh, that's a good point.
because a lot of these guys, a lot of people can't play indoor.
It is.
Like
Different-
indoor is a different,
Yeah.
Wow.
different game. Vinny and Steven were as good, if not, I mean, they were very good indoor. Like indoor, there's only a couple Americans that really could play, and these guys were unbelievable. So
And
a
it
lot of
helps
guys
you-
play
it helps
field.
you
They couldn't go.
outdoor. How much did indoor
Yeah.
help you with your field game in terms of even your stick
Unbelievable.
work, picking the ball up, confidence,
taking
you know?
checks, like taking cross checks, and just
Right.
keep going, and it helped a ton. And so a lot of the guys, how many guys, a handful of guys played both that could be successful. And so, Rob, to answer your question, these guys obviously were very good. Steven was coming from post, he was flying around there.
He overcame so much in his life,
Yeah.
which I find real. I can't even talk. The minute tip he
Look at
goes.
that crooked arm.
I lost my train.
No, but like you
Yeah,
don't
it's
know.
like-
There's not that many D2 and D3 guys are
That's a good
playing
word,
pro and playing indoor, and you don't know if you're going to translate to indoor. And these guys did it all, and they brought me with them. Gags, let's go play indoor at the Saints. All right, I'll try.
Well,
I'll see if I
that's
can-
what we loved about him, because that's what we
Yeah.
love to play, we love to compete, and we could tell you always love to compete. And whether
Yeah.
it's at Vail and high level things, or whether it's at more.
How old are you, John? How old are you?
I just turned 50 last month.
Oh, you're a kid.
So,
He's a kid. I didn't
so
know
the
that.
only thing your father asked me.
And
Oh yeah,
remember the
the
diner?
only-
Remember the diner in Brooklyn? We used to go
Yeah,
to?
the only
Yeah.
thing your father told me he asked me to do, he said, do me a favor. Look out for this kid when you're on those bus rides. He don't lose his money playing
What's
cards. I said, what are you worried
Yeah,
about?
that's
He's
right.
winning all the
He would
money.
tell me that.
I said,
He would tell me that. He'd be like, these guys are going to hustle you. Sombrados are going to get you, man. He'd be like, you think you're going to beat both of them? He's like, good luck. There's no way you're walking away winning.
John,
Like-
you think players make good coaches? Because I have a little riff with Vinny, and I'm not picking on him. I didn't say he couldn't be a good coach, but I thought it would take him time. He was a great player, and they normally say great players don't make good coaches. He may be a little different. Him and Tashman,
Honestly,
maybe
to be honest, I think the better players, it's tough to, I don't know. I think they just expect, I don't know. I coach, and I'm not,
he's a perfectionist. He would yell at players on the field that were excellent players, and they couldn't
No.
physically do it.
no,
And
it's
then
like
he's
you
yelling at
expect
them.
them to know the basic 80%, and I'll teach you the 20%. When the top
Yeah.
players
Right.
they could teach you the top 20%, but if you don't know the 80%, they get frustrated. And they're like, I can't. I saw with guys I coached me, like, I don't know. It seems like the average guys or the guys in the middle of the pack make a lot of them are the better coaches.
Well, you take like a coach from Maryland, who's the best coach in the
John
game.
Tillman played indoor against us.
Maybe
Great guy.
all time. That's going to come out in a few more years, but he's going to go up as an all-time great, whatever, along with
Yeah.
the other guys that you guys know. I just think it's really a hard transition, and Vinny could probably do it, no doubt. But I think it would be a lot more difficult for him to translate into the game, like that, because you got to recruit and stuff. It's a lot. It's a lot more than
It seems like a lot of the coaches are more like GM. Not a lot are GMs these days. They're
like a GM, correct?
They're like, okay, he's running the offense, he's running the defense, he's running face-offs. I'm going to contribute here. I see that at a lot of levels. I mean, I don't want to.
Like Notre Dame. You think they're going to three-peat, take them?
Maybe
He
a
didn't
little
win
bit.
35, 36 years. The guy never won, and he stayed at the school. That's
Yeah.
insanity. 35 years, the guy never won. That's
They
why I
built- they
prayed.
built that from nothing. I mean, when we played Notre Dame back in the day, in like the late 90s, we would be like, oh, we got Notre Dame. Like, I was like, I'm going to score a goal and have an assist this game.
Right.
So in other words, you would abuse him. You abused him.
It would took time for them to develop the program, get full scholarships, get full staff. like back then, like they didn't have a lot of these colleges didn't fund full staffs. They have money for 2 coaches. They didn't have 3, 4 director of operations. So it might have took them 15 years
Right. That's
to
a
get
good point. Yeah.
12.6 scholarships. Because a lot of these schools don't have 12.6 right off the bat. We'll start you at 6. We'll start you with money for 2 coaches. Now
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
now they're fully funded. They're getting the kids from, the right kids.
So Vinny always said him and Tasman would be great coaches for like an Ivy League, if they were going. I said, not so fast. I could see them doing it. But you never know. They have the
Thank you for
experience.
your confidence in me, Smalls.
Right.
Well, no, I'm saying it would be hard not to. You'd be a guy that could do it, I believe. I'm not saying you couldn't. You're one of the few guys that really can put stuff together. And like, I've never heard anybody talk like Vinny. His field sense.
Speaking of coaching, is that the next pivot for John Gagliardi now? Now with his beautiful daughters, he's got to transition his way into the girls' game. Is that?
Oh, he's got girls. How many girls we got there, John?
Yeah,
4 girls.
What?
4 girls.
Oh my God! You got Solid Angels +1.
That's right.
9, 7, 4.
The kids.
9, 7, 4, and 2.
God bless you.
And so I went to my first. Yeah, I'm learning the girls' game. That's why I talked to. I talked to Paul Gade, who really is into the girls' game, and those guys, and
be on the lookout. There'll be a pivot coming here. I'm telling you. Watch.
I don't know if I'm going to coach. I coach them, and I honestly, I don't think I'm an amazing coach. I expect I expect the kids to be able to do basic stuff. When they can't do that, I'm like, go to the side.
Yeah, see, you're expecting somebody to be like you and Vinny and them, so you're a little bit shaded like Vinny and them in one sense. No, I'm not telling them they pick on you guys, but you guys are so good. Like Steven.
More of a GM, I think, and bringing great people around me and be like, okay, I can help this guy here. I can help this guy or a girl here. But I think I'd be more like the new coaches that are like GMs. They almost have this guy runs the defense.
God.
This guy runs the offense. I think I'd be the intricacies of the game.
You're a CEO.
Vinny,
You like being a CEO.
Yeah, Vinny was very good at understanding every little thing. I hear him talking to AJ and
Got 4 young girls. I can't take it.
I don't know if I can get that deep, to be honest. Like
I got your new team. I'm gonna sponsor your new team. You get shirts from me and everything. Just 4 girls. Just 4 girls. You get it?
Yeah.
That's just 4 girls. That's a good team.
Well, that
4 young kids.
What do you guys think about the skill level now, the PLL, compared to when we played?
Off the charts.
Off the
You
charts.
guys respected stringers, in all due respect.
athletic ability wise, there's no denying the training
Off the charts.
that they're doing now. Clearly we weren't doing. Now, I'm not saying, look, if we were born into this time, we would probably have to do it. This is what you would do as a competitor.
Yeah, but Steven, you don't train like they, in all due respect, not picking on
Nobody
Steven.
did, though.
That's the reality. You guys don't train at that level. These guys would run circles around you. Their training level, no, but I'm just saying, their level of training 4 days a week. Pinnell, would you be able to stop Pinnell? You couldn't stop him. Think about his level of training. He eats the right food.
But you're looking.
I'm not picking on him. I'm just
You're
saying.
looking at it wrong again, Smalls. This is what you don't.
I'm not looking at it wrong.
I'm going to tell you why. Because what maybe we had success in, and what Vinny had success in, and what Gags had success in, was being a competitor. It had nothing to do with certain aspects of the skills involved and that. When you're a competitor, you're going to compete in everything you do. So that means if we were born in 2005 instead of 1968, we just would have competed doing different things, because in 2005, those kids were competing doing those things.
True, but the skill level is way, way better.
I don't know. I don't know about.
The skill level.
I don't say way better than it.
Oh, yes, I can say you still would have the top 5 guys. Your nucleus like the Gates and the Vinnies,
No.
they would be okay. But once it goes down a little
It
bit,
trickles down a lot further than that. It's not just top 5 guys, top 10, top
top
50.
5 and 9
There were a lot of
and
guys.
then you go
There were a
down.
lot of guys back in the day. You know, when I say back in the day, we're only talking about 20 years ago. You know, talking about the first year of the MLL, 2001. You know, there's plenty of the guys who played in that league at that time that could be playing in this PLL right now. There's no question in my mind about that. A lot of the
You
guys.
still have to be top of the shelf.
Yeah,
You
and
have
they
to be
were.
top.
And they were. And then the
agree
question would
with
be,
Vinny.
look, you're talking about the game looks different too, because there's different rules, you know, a little bit. They've modified the rules. I mean, we had a 2-pointer in the MLL, you know, the shot clock times are different now. They're making the play faster, the face-off rules. There's a bunch of different things. You know, they've been tweaking things for the last 20 years to make this
I think
appealing.
it was faster when we were playing.
Appealing to
Well,
casual
look at a
fans.
guy like Pinelli.
But
5
look,
seconds.
there's definitely, are there more really good players today? Yes. They're deeper on the bench. But you take the top guys from 20 years ago to the guys right now.
I said the top 5,
what's
Vinny.
that?
I did say the top 5 to
I'm
9
not saying
players.
top 5 to 9. I'm talking about
What?
every player that played, for the most part, in the MLL back when it started, could be playing today in this PLL, in my opinion. I think many of the guys could be playing. I mean, and if you know, look, I remember the guys. You know, there's some people don't remember a guy. Like, I'll give you like Connor Gill. Connor Gill was like
Yeah.
Schellenberger before Schellenberger.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you take a guy. I can match you guy for guy. You know, different guys that you talk about. You know, the Michael Watsons, the guys like that. Those guys that played attack, the midfields. You gonna tell me there's anybody better than Paul and Gary? You know, well, AJ or AJ Hogan or the different guys we had.
I'll tell you who's better than him
He
now.
could do anything. He's a Swiss Iron Man.
I'll tell you who's better. The little guy that's playing now. It's got 45 goals and half that you break the
Yeah,
whole
he's
world
great.
record.
It's points. It's
No one knew who he was.
But I'll tell you this much. I think he's phenomenal. I love T. I love the way he plays, takes advantage of the rules, knows how to play in transition. But you play 6-on-6 and you put Gags on him, I'll put my money on Gags to do a job on him.
Or as a
Who
diva.
he gangs up in now? You crazy? He's playing against the finest guys in the game.
I think
I'm
that's
saying
cover
Gags
him
is
now.
good.
I have
Oh,
that much
look at that.
confidence in
He's
him
throwing
now.
on Gags. You tell me Gags is shutting this kid down? And I don't know that. I haven't watched him. He must be the.
I have so much confidence. I'm telling you, guys can cover him now, and we give him a little support. I am telling you,
He's had-
he's a tremendous player. The guy is
He's
a
double
tremendous
teamed, Steven.
No, but there were guys, Rob. There are guys.
Maybe I'm off a
there
little.
are
I
guys-
don't
there are
see
guys
it.
like Millen. There are guys like Jalbert, Sal, like these guys, Vinny.
But I looked, but they're not doing what this kid is doing right now, T.
Then
He may be a 1-year wonder. He may be a 1-year wonder.
Who's
But what
who's
he's
the
doing
player
right now in the PL, the
Who's
Gates have never done.
Who's the
Nobody's
top
ever done
guy?
it for 1 year.
listen, we're talking about two different things. You're just looking at points. He's phenomenal. I just started with the saying that I think he's
But
phenomenal.
I'm
Well, you're
looking at
looking
1
at-
year,
you're
guys. I'm
looking
not
at-
saying over the
You're
course.
looking at points athletically, physically. You don't think that kid could be dominated with a certain matchup on him? If he doesn't have broken situations or picks or whatever, there are guys who could cover him easy.
But I'm
Easy.
saying give him 1 year. I've never seen what this has done. I've never seen a player in the sport do what this kid is
This is
doing.
what he said. This is what he said about 5 weeks ago about O'Neal.
I know.
And then
Yeah,
he looked
exactly.
up O'Neal,
Last five,
and now he's
that
on
guy was the
team.
greatest guy
And
in ever
then
He
he
was
played.
one of the greats of all time in
Until he
college.
went cold the last two games.
He's not the Gates. Nobody is Superman. I'm a rally. But you're not going to see, you're never going to see an O'Neal in the next 10, 20 years.
Have
You're not
have
going to see that type of player.
Casey and Mikey and Ryan Powell?
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. You're gonna
No,
put,
those
you're
guys,
gonna
right,
say
I'm
you're gonna
saying.
say these guys are better than them? Are you kidding me?
No, I didn't say he's better, but I'm saying for now. You're not seeing a kid like this kid from Duke. Tell me who's the
Schellenberg.
Duke player coming up.
Schellenberg, Schellenberg is special. I watched
Yeah.
that kid play.
Yeah, he's
I
good
was
too,
like,
but
this is
yeah.
Casey 2.0.
Yeah,
The guy freak people.
he
He's
runs like them. He
He's
does.
smart as hell. He knows exactly where he's dodging from. I was like, this is Casey. Oh my God. And so I think, and everyone says, oh, the guys are bigger, stronger, blah, blah, blah. You know, Ajax won Defensive Player of the Year. I love the kid. Well deserved. He's my size, Pat's size.
Guys, you don't think that you would have his and
Ajax
you guys are
attack.
judging me wrong by laughing, but the thing is, in all due respect, you don't think that you would have to be more in the A game for defense and maybe training a little harder off season? Will you?
Yeah, that's fine. But we played indoor and off season. Teat plays indoor. How many other guys play indoor?
Not many.
Like, not many. We
Not many.
were playing. We were traveling to Toronto and
Exactly.
and Rochester and Buffalo and wherever to play indoor, which is way more physical.
John, he's going to break the all-time record in half the season.
Who's
They
that?
got another half the season. It's never been done even close.
Yeah.
This kid's going to shatter records.
Again,
No, I think you guys are
you're a
unbelievable
point
player.
guy. You know, we're not.
Yeah.
Nobody's disputing the guy is putting up
Well,
historic
the numbers,
numbers.
Kenny, you're right. But numbers that will never be reached again in the definitive sport. I mean, talk about a 1 year.
You always speak in these absolutes. You get into these things all the time. Let's go to next year. Next year when a guy breaks it, you say, well,
It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen like this. This guy, he's breaking the records that time.
he's got
it's
4
unbelievable.
games less than the season. Let's see what happens. They got it going on well. The Atlas is very strong right now. They have one off game. He's playing great. I'm not taking
I just
anything
don't
away
think
from
the
my
players
coach.
of years
I'm
ago-
a big fan. But if let's put it this way, you know, if I really had to pick between a few guys, if I had to pick between Holgate playing attack, like when he scored 7 goals, I think in the championship for us, or if I had to pick Casey,
Powell.
or if I had to pick Mikey Powell, and many other guys, I could go down a list. In a 1-game scenario, would I take T over any of those guys? I don't think so. I don't think I would.
I think you would figure out your team. I
You
think,
what?
I think
You're crazy in the outdoor game. You're nuts.
I think he's more than a capable guy, but if he fits with your team, right?
Yes,
I mean,
it's a yes.
you know,
But
like,
I just think that, you know, there's the style, you know, the styles.
The Canadians
of
caught
different
up.
guys.
Let's face it. The
What?
Canadians are catching up. Really catch as far as their stick skills in the sixes. We can't even compete with
First
them.
of all, their stick skills have always been better.
yeah.
Canadian stick skills have been better, so it's not catching up. They've learned how to play the field
The
game.
field game, they're catching up.
But
I
it's
said.
not new to them. They're doing it for years now. They've been playing.
Well, we don't have stick skills like they do in the American game. I see the way Gotti shoot that comes down. Even at the Cornell game, the guy comes down. I could do that. Shoots like this. The Canadians, they move the stick.
Well,
It's a totally different mindset.
That's a product, like John said. When we played indoor, and I was playing indoor, then going to outdoor, and then going back to indoor, then going to outdoor. And I was learning in indoor, but I was also gaining skills about catching balls in traffic and shooting in tight quarters. And those things I brought back outside with me and made me a better player overall. So
Did Benny get a dog? He's walking his dog now. Where's it?
those skills, you know, unfortunately, like Gag said, that a lot of guys, there's not as many guys playing in the indoor league, whether it's, you know, circumstance or anything else. And because of that, you know, they're not gaining some of those skills. I think they'd be more well-rounded players than the American guys if they played both.
All right, Johnny. Sorry about my little rant there, but I had to get it. I'm sorry. What do you think? Where do you live, John? Around local, or you live in Florida? Florida.
Canaan, Connecticut.
I live in Connecticut. CT, man.
So I give.
We
Spinetta
better
a
get
lot of
going,
credit.
Steven. This is going overtime. We're into about an hour and a half now, maybe
All right.
more. We're getting close to 2 hours.
I give Spallina a lot of credit for going to Canada for 2 summers now.
Exactly.
Yes, guys. That's what I'm saying.
But let me ask you another question. How many Thornton Award winners from Canada have there been?
Oh, is it one every year, no?
They haven't
No,
won
but
one yet.
has there been one?
No.
No. See,
So I think there's an argument when I talk to I go to tournaments all the time. Their
The
captain.
dates never wanted to do it from Canada.
No,
they didn't even have
tournament
the
is-
award back
it's-
then.
Well, they would have
The
gotten the
argument
fact
that
that
only a few, it takes some time to adapt to
Dennis
the
Goldstein won.
He's not gonna-
Oh, he's not Canadian. You're right, Canadian.
the no, but how many Canadians? A lot of these coaches limit how many of the guys they bring on, Canadians they bring on their team, because the field game it's different than the indoor game. You need a Marachek, you need a Teat, but how many do you need? Two.
Right.
You know
Well,
what I mean?
excuse me. I don't know if this means anything. There was a big guy. Who's the big guy that won it 2 years ago? He had all Canadians on not the whole team, but mostly Canadians. He won 2 years ago. He's a big guy. He went to Brown University. He's a coach. Come on, guys.
what are you talking
me-
about? You
Yeah,
thought,
Ford,
He
he's man.
gets you lost. He gets
yeah,
you
yeah,
lost.
you all of a sudden you're
You know,
into some.
guys,
You're talking about Canadians on the team. They got all Canadians.
You're right. You're right, Gags, about the few guys. But here's the thing that we're seeing emerge from the Canadians more now than ever. They really have a lot of quality defensemen like
Yeah.
that they used to not have.
They just throw
You
a
know.
long stick in their hands and they
Look
can
how
handle
many
it.
guys now. There's a lot of guys even in the pro league that are the kid that was
Yeah.
at Delaware and that other big guy who plays on the Archers. They got some. And that's also what really makes them competitive for the World Games. Obviously, a more of a threat. And Dylan Ward's a goalie. That was another area that you
Yeah.
always
No,
wondered whether or not they could
unbelievable
figure out
players.
that they are a threat.
Well, look at well, they've been more than a threat. They've won a
Yeah.
few times now, but look at the Sixers. The first time they did it, and they played down in Alabama. They beat the U.S.
Oh, yeah.
easily. Their substitutions were much better. They played the game more physical. They took advantage of the rules better, in terms of transition. That was more of like playing box on the field, kind of, So we'll adjust, they'll coach it up. And, you got
That's
guys
where
like you
Vegas
mentioned
should come.
before, Tony Resch, who's got a lot of box experience. We'll learn better and we'll pick a better team next time, maybe, Not that those guys were bad, but you
We're
need
gonna be
two-way
underdogs.
type.
I don't like the Sixers.
No, in the Sixers,
we will be underdogs in Sixers.
in the Sixers, I think we are underdogs until
Yeah.
we can prove that we're not.
I agree.
Look, we've gotten closer in the box world championships. 1 year we didn't even finish second. I think the Iroquois or who the Shawnee team beat us. I think we finished third 1 year maybe. So look, that's more their style game. We're
you
better
see-
on the field, but look, lacrosse players are lacrosse players. There's phenomenal Canadian
you-
All right,
players.
I gotta go swimming here, guys. I'm getting
Did
so
you-
hot
did
I
you-
can't even breathe.
last thing, did you see that they might be changing the World Games, doing a shot clock in the playoffs? Did you guys see that?
No, I didn't hear that.
They announced it the other day. They're going to a vote where during the regular matchups it would be no shot clock, and then in the playoffs it would be a shot clock, which would help Americans out a lot when it's a high speed game and the Canadians typically sit on the ball that last game.
Maybe, but maybe, but be careful what you wish for. Who knows? Them speeding up, right? Might, look, every year I see better and better guys. Those World Games have been very close going back to, look, they pulled an upset going back to 78. They beat the U.S. team with all box players, And now, since then, 2010, we squeaked by. That was a one-goal game. 98, we squeaked by. It was an overtime game. Even, there's been years it's very close. Not this last one, the one before, that was Shriver scored the goal right at the end with a second left,
Yep.
So you're talking about, these games are very tough between these teams. It's a war of attrition. The round robin could take something out of a team. I think there's been a few years where you covered, you said in what year was that? 06 you covered Grant?
Yeah.
I tell people, you think back to 98, I think Grant was coming out of Delaware. He was, top guy coming out of college, and he hurt his back, and he didn't really play in those 98 games, I don't think. That would have been rough if he played.
Yeah.
It was tough enough as it was, but, they lost him. Canadians have had some bad luck in that. They lost that D guy from, didn't that kid that played for Delaware, the D guy, I think he got hurt and didn't play in the last World Game. He was really good.
Hey, John, we do a shout out. Somebody in your past that was so memorable to you. You can do one or two guys. We all, each one of us give a shout out. Like we're getting ready to wrap it up. And Vinny will go first. His shout out. But
Well,
you
I
think
got to
about-
go first. Your turn to go first.
Hey,
Go ahead.
I'll go first, but I'm just you think about a shout out you want to give it. First of all, I want to thank John for his kindness in coming on, and God bless you. You got 4 daughters. It's amazing, you know. And
Thank you.
the one thing I do suggest you to do, even if you don't do it longevity, coach 1 or 2 years of your kids.
Oh,
You'll never forget that around if you can like that.
100%.
And my shout out today is a dear friend of mine who I thank Vinny for introducing me. And I said I couldn't believe it. Because when I met the guy, he looked like he's about 5'4". He had a little cabbie hat on, whatever, a little cab hat. And his name is Dennis Goldstein. And I had met him at Hofstra in the quarterfinals when their team was playing. I said, Vinny, this little guy played lacrosse? And he was the best player in the whole world. He was a little guy with a cabbie hat who was walking. I said, Vinny, I'm going to know him for life. And I became good friends with him, and he's a very humble guy. And he'll kill me for saying it, but he did win a national championship with Joe Bresci, and he was Player of the Year, which is considered toward how do I say it? Toward done.
Well, you're getting better.
He's getting
Toward
close.
done.
He's getting close.
I want to give him a shout out, and I do want to thank you guys for your very kind man. Thank you so much, guys, Stephen.
I'm gonna give my shout out to the Lavelles, George, the father, and Kevin and Mike, the sons. Will be heading up in a few weeks, running the Lake Placid tournament for many years, giving all of the old dogs an opportunity to still go out there, get together, and meet and play and compete. You know, it's one of the things that I think the younger guys, I don't think they play so many games when they're young. We're not seeing a lot of guys play much after they finish playing college, which is when we really maybe wanted to play the most. And that's a shame. So, and the Lavelles and many other have given people a vehicle to go up and play and see their friends again, and the camaraderie.
Where are they from, Stephen?
They're from the Albany area.
Okay.
And years ago, they had gotten the tournament going, and it's it's got to be on 30, 40 years going now. So that's my shout out to the Lavelles, and we'll see them up there.
What do you got, Vincenzo?
Well, my shout out is to our guy Brett Brown. Brett Brown's.
I'm done with the show. I'm done.
Brett Brown gets a shout out. His urban lacrosse team won a big upset against Casa at Cadillac Park, as Gags mentioned before, out in Hitsville. They had a big upset this week. They beat Casa, which was one of the favorites in that division.
Big win for him.
And urban lacrosse pulled out a win. And a little bit of a second shout out to PV, the goalie, who got MVP of the game. He came up big, and they won the game. So happy for Brett Brown.
Hey, John, I'm sorry. You're going to go in a second. I want to elaborate one second what Vinny said. Here's a young man who came from a family, and he's a wonderful human being, Brett Brown, and he helps out a lot of the urban kids, and he gives his own money and time. He doesn't have a lot, and he's given so much of his time from his heart to get African-American, it's all African-American kids into colleges with everything. He would drive kids up. A lot of times he didn't have a lot himself, but he would give to the kids, and his passion, and he endears Vinny and Stephen. He endears them guys with all his life, and they've been so good to him in life, and he's really a special human being. And everywhere we go, when I get these suites at the Final Fours and I do these things, I do it for guys like him and Vinny and the people that really give back to the game. So,
awesome.
In all due respect, he's a wonderful man. Yeah. Thanks to Vinny and Steven and everything. That's Go ahead, Dave.
Well, first of all, Mike Lavelle actually works for Kane. He's my right-hand man here.
Does he?
What?
Look at that. See, I got a good shout out.
We're meeting at 12:30 right after this. He's the best.
He's got the shout out.
Wharton Award winner, Lowe's academic. He's an unbelievable, USA player. He's my right-hand guy. He's the best, Mike Lavelle.
John, say that word again. Tauntaun. You got me.
Tauntaun.
I just said you might be. Fact check him. Tauntaun. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
So my shout outs to Paul Carcaterra. I have two. So Paul Carcaterra, I met him at Millen Lacrosse Camp. I met him at Dead Ant's house after Millen's Lacrosse Camp. We were relaxing, and we were talking, and he was at Syracuse, I was at Hopkins, and Brian, his brother, was one of my roommates for a year. And we said, you know what? Why don't we do our own lacrosse camp? Yeah. We looked at each other. We hardly knew each other. We started our first lacrosse camp, No Limit, that summer at Adelphi.
Oh, that's cool.
Next year. Yeah. We started, and then from there it became 2 camps, 3 camps, 4 camps, 5 camps, No Limit teams, became tournaments. It became Maverick. It all evolved, and now it's Kane. And Paul's been with me. Well, we've been together since the early days. And, since we met junior year of college. And so I love him a ton. And then my other shout out to my mom. You asked me where I got my gentleness from.
Yeah.
It's from Mrs. Gags and Mr. Gags.
She's the GOAT.
My mom brought me everywhere. She brought me to, every practice, and my mom and dad, but she brought me to tryouts, to, when I moved from Brooklyn to Long Island, I was a year or two academically behind. And so I had to go to Hofstra every Tuesday and Thursday night to get caught up. They had special tutors. And my mom would bring me every Tuesday and Thursday night to Hofstra to get caught up academically. And, I love her a ton, and she's been there since day one. She got me my first stick and my first lacrosse cage as well.
Good dad. I'm a dad.
But this has been great. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
It's always good going down memory lane.
God bless you, guys. One last thing, guys, as far as the Kane shoes, if you can.
Yeah.
And I'm going to leave this up, one last thing up to Vinny and Steven. I don't want a pair of shoes, but thank you for the offer. I really appreciate it. I don't want a pair. I don't need a pair. Well, here's what I want to do. I want to design a shoe, and I want it to be with Steven, him, and me designing the shoe. And on behalf of our company, I would like to purchase maybe 50 or more, depending what Steven and them. And then on the show, I would like to do a little advertising for Kane and say, hey, these are Kane's.
Yeah.
And they'll buy it. They'll buy the shoe for whatever we sell it for, whatever. And then we'll go from there. So we'll figure out how we could do it. And I'm going to let Steven have the lead way because I love Vinny. Vinny's always traveling lately, so we have to find him. But I'm just kidding, Vinny. But I'd like to do that. Yeah. Something like that. And I don't want no discount. No nothing. I want to pay regular price.
I forgot to say, we did this for the U.S. lacrosse team.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I didn't bring
this
it up.
Year, coming up or
2 ago. This was done for one of the teams.
put your hat on, Gags. I want to come up with something crazy unique. For 3 guys, many games is much. And not now, give it time. But I want to purchase it, and I want to get them online with Vinny and Steven, and we'll move that. You'll be the first one to sell something online for us because we're going to be huge. There's nothing I do that ain't huge. Vinny knows, right, Vinny?
Nice.
Vinny, 4 years. This time I've been into the game. What have I done in 4 years?
Oh, a lot of things.
Anyway, but thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for your time. I love seeing you. Hopefully I run into you in Placid. That would be great to see you up there and your beautiful family. And
you going, guys?
I'm not sure. We have a wedding in Colorado.
Yeah, I'm on the fence too, but
so it might be tough. But I mean, Hopkins is sending a team, and I want to go. I could see if I could try to sneak up there for a day or two.
What about January? Are you going to January to be in Florida?
The MLK weekend?
No, yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. I bought a tournament out west. Me, Scott Hogsted, and a couple guys. We bought Sandstorm, which is the biggest tournament in the country. We have 550 teams, 82 fields.
Wow.
So I'm out usually out there promoting Canes. We just bought like 2 years ago, but
When is that Sandstorm tournament? When does it
I
happen?
think it's MLK weekend. Same.
Wow.
Oh, it is. It's the same weekend. Wow.
Yeah. So I gotta see.
Yeah,
right.
wow.
But yeah, send me info, and I really
All right.
appreciate
Thanks
it.
for
Love you
coming
guys.
on, guys.
This
Appreciate
is
it.
awesome.
Thanks,
Yeah,
man.
love
We're
you,
gonna,
man.
we're gonna ride it out, and we're gonna give our picks later this week. We gotta get
My
games.
friend,
It's back this weekend. Go ahead. You guys get in on there.
And then all.